Wow. Mhm. Mhm.
Warming up and manually resharing our links.
Where's my nose? Because I feel itchy right as we were about to start. Because of course it was. Where are you, links? Where? Come to me. Come here.
As always, if you are watching, we haven't officially started yet. We're still warming up and manually sharing our links. But please do comment so we know you're out there.
Of course, if you're watching in the future when this is no longer a live stream, you're just gonna have to
Wait.
hang out a minute or so before we actually start. Because ultimately, this is a live stream, so gotta give time for people to dial in. Hi, who just joined?
This has been a very loaded week.
Oh my god, so much so.
I do not know why this week is super loaded for both of us.
Yeah, we're barely talking during the day.
And then I'm just happy we ate a bit earlier today than the last few days.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's one thing to be on intermittent fasting. It's another to be on inadvertent fasting.
Yeah. Okay, resharing to the subscription list. And then reposting to my...
Yep. Oops, where's my restream window? Right there. Whew. It's so annoying I have a wet splotch from, I guess, brushing my teeth. Which is before I changed shirts, but then I guess it was still wet.
Yeah,
and then Toby's like, I could either hover over it, so my shadow is there, but then I end up looking like this. or I'll be just very hello. It's so nice to meet you.
So Noel's joined us so far. I'm getting ready to start. We got a lot to cover in this episode.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, it seems a little ambitious to cover Phase 4, but I figured it. I mean, because there are a lot of items on the list that we don't know anything about, so then it's just breeze through.
Well, we don't know anything about as far as the cinematic universe is concerned.
Yeah.
We might have stuff to share about what we know from comics.
That is true.
So once you are ready, we can shoot the intro and then we can officially start.
Noel is knitting. And we are glad to provide a background audio track.
And Noel, we still have the thing you sent us. We're planning to use that eventually.
Which one?
Artwork.
Don't remember. The coffee's good. We've been drinking the coffee. That I remember. I guess in a minute, and then we'll just roll with it. But yeah, if you are tuning in, as always, it helps. We can't see specifically who is watching the live stream, but it helps if you comment so that you can participate in the discussion. Otherwise, we would appreciate if you like the video, share it with more folks so that we can get more people on the live stream, or just share it when it's a recording and get more people into the Baduy Pride circle. Yeah, things like that.
The live stream that's used as a podcast.
Yeah, which I used to call a blog, but then I guess it really is a podcast now. And especially because we have a lot of people who listen and like it in the background. So that's cool. That's cool. All right. Yeah. So as people come in, we're gonna run the intro, and then we'll be right back.
Oh yeah! Baduy Pride!
Hello, everyone. This is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, our little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
It is completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us, we talk about everything and anything random vibe.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. This is episode 230, and we're covering the Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 4.
Yeah, I mean, like we weren't sure what else to cover this week because Thursdays have sort of unofficially become more and more entertainment focused and TV shows and movies. But considering that Black Widow is finally coming out tomorrow in the US,
Is it?
Yes.
Is it? Until
Yes.
it's out, I still question if it really is.
Wow, that is a valid concern, but it is scheduled to be released
There, that's the
tomorrow
better statement.
in the US, and we'll see how things go. Oh, and Black Swan is over on YouTube, and he says very ready for Far From Home and the Multiverse of Madness.
So let's quickly have a run through of everything we're expecting, and then we can start talking about them one by one.
Oh, so you just want to read the list
Yeah,
first?
let's just go
before-
through the list so that everyone at least has an idea.
Okay. So wait. So before we even get into that, we should talk about the fact that when we talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you're talking about a particular plan where they treated the different movie releases in the same way that they would the comics, such that it's a single story platform, interconnected and all that. And formally what was the very first MCU movie? Is that Iron Man that really like kicked off the full MCU period, or do they still count the Hulk? I forget. I know it's officially there. Iron Man, then the Incredible Hulk was like loosely connected.
Mhm.
Okay, so so there was that, and then it was a very very comprehensive plan where they mapped it out as like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. So actually, phase 3 culminated with the whole Infinity War saga wrapping up, and I think that was a really really good. That was a really really good plan. Like it had a nice build up. And across so many movies, it culminated with Avengers, and eventually again Avengers Endgame, and a movie like that. Like I think when we first watched it, my reaction was like, oh my god! But it's like if had they not really worked on this like comprehensive story universe, they never could have executed the Endgame movies because the final Avengers movies really assumed you have been watching everything else. And we're not going to bother to reintroduce characters and reintroduce storylines. We're just going to run and push this story. So it was quite ambitious. But at the same time, we have a lot of actor contracts that have come to an end that were fulfilled across phases 1 to 3. So phase 4 is kind of exciting because it's a lot of new stuff. It's a lot of experimenting with I guess other platforms. Okay, so what has been, and this is like the Wikipedia list as of today, which is different from when Phase 4 was originally announced pre-COVID. So what is our list? So first, movies. What do we got?
Okay, so the list of movies include Black Widow,
Tomorrow.
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings,
This year.
Eternals,
Also this year.
Spider-Man No Way Home,
Yes,
Do-
also this year.
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness,
Next year.
Thor, Love and Thunder,
Next year, but shooting.
Black Panther, Wakanda Forever,
I don't know how this is going to work, but next year.
The Marvels,
Next year.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania,
Ooh, very excited. But 2023.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3,
Yes.
and supposedly Fantastic Four
Year undetermined. So that's like the slate of like
movies.
11 movies. But Phase 4 is also remarkable that it features a number of television shows, of course, exclusive to Disney Plus, the new, not so new streaming platform for them. But yeah, so before, the closest we got was Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.,
Yeah.
which was not
canon.
Well, no longer canon.
Mhm.
Supposedly it was at the time, and now it's like, meh. But it didn't really feel like it was part of the MCU. It just sort of loosely touched on it, and then didn't really go from there. And then there were a bunch of weird one-offs like the Inhumans one and Cloak and Dagger and Runaways, which
the list
Uh-oh,
includes no. Testing. Are we back? Please let us know if we're back.
Wow. Restream doesn't like us talking about the MCU.
Oh, yeah, that seems to be live. I think we are reconnected.
Okay. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. Some weird multiversal
Yeah,
things
please
happening, I
comment if you can
suppose.
see us. But yeah, this seems to be. See, bam, there. Okay, there. So we
Oh!
reconnected.
My cousin is here. Hello, Anna.
So the television series that are coming up or have been running include WandaVision, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki Season 1, What If Season 1, Miss Marvel, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Secret Invasion, The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, Ironheart, Armor Wars, and an untitled Wakanda series.
Okay, so that's quite a lot. That's quite a lot. And it's surprising at how much content there is. Although, I mean, I don't know how we're going to start talking about this. I guess we can talk about the shows. The shows have kind of come out first. Originally, I think Black Widow was slated to be the first one
Yeah.
out for Phase 4, but it's still not out. So we have at least the TV shows that we can talk about.
So a lot of the movies were supposed to come out first,
Mm-hmm.
but then COVID happened.
Yes.
And with that, the movies kept getting pushed back, either due to production delays or they just didn't want to release it while everyone was still stuck at home.
Yes.
It reached a point that the TV series were about to start. So I'm not sure if they're confirmed, but there are rumors that there were rewrites done to the series. Like for example, Falcon and the Winter Soldier supposedly had a viral plot or subplot,
yeah.
which was
we've
written
heard a lot
out.
about that.
The
And RJ's here. Hello.
certain scenes were altered as to not feature certain characters too soon because suddenly, since the series were coming out first, it would be too preemptive to have certain characters appear too soon. So with all that, with all those changes, we now have this weird um, phase 4 we're in. It feels like things are being scrambled around in the background to still look like it's all well planned,
Yeah.
despite the chaos that the pandemic has wrought upon it.
I mean, like, if we're gonna compare how Phase 4 has kicked off versus like how Phases 1, 2, and 3 went, you definitely feel like not as solid a plan because officially, at least with the previous phases, they were like big kickoff movies.
Mhm.
Iron Man was a great tentpole movie to kick off Phase 1, for example. But then here, technically, the first thing that came out was WandaVision,
Mhm.
which, don't get me wrong, is an amazing show.
Yes.
But to set up maybe an overall, arc of like what Phase 4 may be about, not friendly, not friendly to audiences, and really, really trippy.
Yeah, part of what made me wonder was that given it was supposed to be Black Widow first.
Mm-hmm.
And if Black Widow came out first, assuming we saw it with Taskmaster and whatever the plot of that movie will be, it would have given the feeling that the story could still be aliens and the big bad over our. It could be still some sort of hidden conspiracy group or this and that. But since WandaVision ended up becoming the first one, we're now sort of all expecting a mystical, magical enemy as the big bad.
Or like the stress is super on things like the multiverse,
Mhm.
and alternate realities and timelines. And I don't know if that was really the plan.
Mhm.
I mean, if you watch any of the YouTube stuff where all the people who comment and react to individual episodes of all these shows, you can probably do a drinking game every time someone mentions multiverse, introduce the multiverse, bring in the multiverse, because that's like how else will you read it,
Yeah.
right?
And it's not a surprise either, given Doctor Strange literally is the multiverse of madness. Ant-Man and Wasp has Quantumania. So there definitely is a exploration of the time field or the time, the possible.
Timey-wimey.
Yeah. Then you have What If. Of all the shows, you have What If, which is literally about
Alternate.
alternate
Yeah.
possibilities. But all that, therefore, makes me wonder if it's really going to be the main big bad.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the earlier phases 1 to 3, um, the initial big bads were never the final big bad.
That
So
is
we
true.
started with Loki, and it
Mhm.
felt like, oh, the Cosmic Cube, it's going to be all about that.
Mhm.
But then later they revealed, no, it's the Infinity Gems. And right now, everything seems to point at multiverse. So it feels too obvious it's going to be the big bad.
Yeah.
Interestingly, um, Secret Wars is a small series that's coming out.
Which is weird
Because it was
used
a
to be a
major
big event.
It used to be a super major event. Same with Armor Wars. Armor Wars
Well,
was such a
To be fair, Armor Wars wasn't a big event, but it was a big Iron Man event.
yeah, Iron Man Avengers event.
Iron Man
Iron Man
mainly.
only.
Mainly
Okay.
Iron Man. But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's talk about the ones that have come out and are coming out. So we love WandaVision, but I think in terms of it being part of a plan, it felt tonally weird
Mhm.
and a little confusing and hard to the audience. And then we followed up with The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was a solid show, but I feel like it should not have come after WandaVision.
Mhm.
It felt weak after WandaVision.
I felt Falcon and the Winter Soldier. What I feel it should have done but failed to do was establish for us where Shield stood in the world now.
Considering Shield was ruined,
Yeah.
in
With the
the Captain
major
America
with the
movies.
major breakdown of Shield with the previous phases, and then with showing this messed up Shield in WandaVision, I kind of was hoping that Falcon and the Winter Soldier would, so this is the person now in charge. This is how Shield is now.
Mhm.
But instead, we had more of a glimpse of what's happening around Shield.
Okay, so there is that, and then and I forget the original sequence, but had it been Black Widow, which is always going to be espionage, very very human level, because Black Widow ultimately her main ability is she was trained to be an assassin.
It's not cosmic.
Yeah, she's not a cosmic person. And then had they followed it with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then come to WandaVision, then I think it would have been a more interesting or related progression.
Yeah, because Winter Soldier would then introduce that there are things happening behind the scenes that the government or Shield is not aware of, and then WandaVision sort of confirms this because look, this guy's trying to rebuild Vision and all this and that. And
Yeah, so Noel's said, yeah, the WandaVision is Sword. And yes, and Sword is not what it used to be in the comics,
Mhm.
but it's a weird offshoot of Shield.
But yeah, so in terms of what WandaVision did was introduce Sword. That
Yes.
there is now a spin-off to Shield as far as the viewers are concerned. Na parang dati Shield lang, now may Sword na rin. Winter Soldier didn't do anything like that, which for me was frustrating. It didn't even introduce a possible villain because the group they introduced, how do I put it, did not feel like they had the weight to be a big villain
And they weren't
compared to
they
Hydra.
weren't villains. They were just, passionate,
Mhm.
downtrodden people.
Yeah, but that's what I think. And when Captain America introduced Hydra, when Avengers introduced Hydra, there was that feeling of, oh, it's a big enemy. Here, when we learned about the terrorist group, it still felt very local.
Yeah, despite their global presence, but they felt very small time.
I mean, had they, let's say, had more prominent canonical villains attached to it, I might see them as bigger, but then we'll only have the Leaper. So,
Hey, don't knock Batroc. So yeah, I mean, yeah. So Noel cites Winter Soldier did introduce the Power Broker.
well,
ish.
it teased the Power Broker.
Yeah, we didn't quite fully. I mean, ultimately, we know it's like Sharon Cartery because it was such a non-surprising reveal that she wasn't quite on the
Mhm.
nose. But then we still don't fully know her motivations, why she is that in that circle. And
Had it been more introduced the way Loki was introduced as a villain, then maybe I would feel okay. Power Broker. This is a big thing that will affect the battlefield. Even the presence of what was her name in the
the
ending.
Contessa.
Yeah.
yeah.
That felt like very one note reveal, which if they were trying to do what Thanos did when he had a sneak peek reveal,
No,
it
it's
didn't
not the
have that
same.
impact.
But at the same time, she's not ultimately a villain either.
Mhm.
So she's not meant to be that kind of a reveal. So yeah. So WandaVision brilliant piece of television, not great working in a team.
Mhm.
And then Falcon and Winter Soldier. My main job was to introduce the Falcon as Captain America, and that's about it. Then the rest of the story was just kind of there.
Mhm.
So Loki now is very interesting, but I don't necessarily feel excited per se. I think it's only maybe in the second half of a very short 6 episode series that it's really kind of amping up, but it's also not quite going as far as I want it to go.
Yeah. My worry with Loki, and again, we are enjoying it, is that it's sort of stealing the thunder of Doctor Strange.
Mm.
Because if Doctor Strange is exploring the multiverse, so that's going to be a lot of reveals of, look, alternate Captain America, look, alternate blah, blah, blah. We're sort of already getting that hit
With Loki. Yeah.
So,
This week's episode was fun in that regard.
and that's what I worry about. Was Loki meant to be after the Doctor Strange movie?
I don't know, because Doctor Strange was really like later in the pipeline. It wasn't, but I guess it would have been a 2021 release
Mhm.
versus a 2022. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I like. It's like so far. I like the shows individually, but then I don't feel like it has a plan.
And I'm hoping that's the plan.
That there is no plan.
No, that it's showing how all these heroes are individuals. Because that's what Phase 1 was about. Iron Man was Iron Man. Captain America was Captain America.
That's true.
And it was the, oh my gosh, they're going to become the Avengers.
And it was only in the
That-
post-credit stuff that there was a very loose, interconnected tissue.
Because Nick
Because
Fury.
Coulson and Fury were like
Yeah.
recruiting.
So I'm sort of wondering if that's what they're hoping to accomplish here. That she's got problems, he's got problems, he's got problems. And then later on, some big bad, and they'll have to join together. But I don't know, because it almost also feels like they're now trying to introduce so many new things. But at the same time, many of the ones they're introducing aren't having more local threats.
Mm.
So there's that feeling of, like, for example, Eternals. Eternals is huge. It's already an ensemble.
Very big.
And their story obviously will not just be some terrorist group that they have to deal with. But then it brings to those the questions of, well, everyone's asking, where were they during Infinity War and all that? But at the same time, where are they with everything else that's happening?
Mm-hmm.
If one of them will be revealed as a master of mysticism or what, just like Doctor Strange, then why didn't that person feel the WandaVision moment either? And, that sort of frustration.
Yeah, why do we only get Agatha dropping by like, hey, I'm the only one who sensed this magic? So there is that. So now I guess we can circle back to the movies first because we're on the brink of Black Widow. But Black Widow is like, oh my god, does anyone really? I mean, like, I'm like politely excited, but does anyone really care at this point how it's going to connect to everything else? I am not entirely sure.
Yeah, I feel Black Widow is okay. It's tricky in this way. If it's a flashback story,
It is because she's dead.
No, but that's my point. If it's
Yeah.
a flashback story, then it doesn't matter.
Yes,
But then if it's suddenly the reveal that, no, I'm sorry, it's not really a flashback story. This is the alternate Black Widow.
it could be a
And
reveal.
that's the big
Yeah.
reveal in the end of the movie. Then that would be interesting. But then that cheapens the death as well. So I feel they trap themselves with this movie.
And and I while I have celebrated the clamor for a female-led Marvel movie. At the same time, I feel like this is just a female-led Marvel movie. Like it was addressing that, like, give her a movie, then they gave her a movie. But I don't know if it really feels like integral to the plan, especially since all the synopses, and this is like official, all the synopses for Black Widow keep telling us that it is set right after the events of Captain America and the Winter Soldier. So
Now-
it's back in 2016.
Now, since they're having a secret invasion, something coming up, then that opens the doors that Natasha, who died, was a Skrull.
That is another option.
And
But then would it make the death
again,
on Vormir worth it
see, so
if it was a
so
Skrull.
that's my point. That if they in any way try to alter that sacrifice,
If they take the death away, it
it
cheapens the death.
ruins the whole thing.
Yes.
But at the same time, if they don't, then again, this falls under a why would I care? Unless, and again, this is coming from, since a lot of it is about inheriting power, inheriting responsibility. Love and Thunder, who is the new Thor, supposedly, if we were looking at the comics. Captain America is the new Captain America. Hawkeye is the next Hawkeye because he's training her to be Hawkeye.
Mm.
Then maybe in Black Widow, Florence Pug, I forgot how to pronounce her name. The actress who I love in her spy movies, because she's the one in Little Drummer Girl and in this other movie.
Okay.
Might be the new Widow, and that might be what this movie is going to be about in the end.
Mm.
That someone takes that position, because maybe we see the whole movie, it's all there, and then post credit scene we see her hearing she's dead, and then we'll see the costume or something, so implying she'll be the new Widow.
And then as someone who plays Marvel Strike Force, which is like a little tactical whatever action RPG game, they've always been very in tune with the movies as they come out. So like when the Deadpool movies came out, they introduced Deadpool. So as early as last year, they brought in a bunch of the Russian characters, and so we have Red Guardian and the like. But then the Black Widow movie didn't come out, so suddenly we have these guys running around the game. But it did feature what was that? The one who was also a Black Widow. I can't remember her name now. In the comics. Oh yeah, but yeah, Yelena Belova, who was also the one you like.
Yeah, Florence.
But yeah, she wasn't. So her character's in Marvel Strike Force now. I'm like, oh, so is this a thing? So there is that angle to it.
So just going through comments real fast. Anna shares had the same thoughts about the Black Widow movie. Noel shares might be the alternate version. Black Swana shares. Wait, are both War series going to be animated?
No confirmation. But then Armor Wars is going to star Don Cheadle as War Machine. Whether that's just a voice.
The one we know to be animated is What If.
What If is definitely animated.
And then, what if the Widow does a major left turn, though? That's the thing, see? How do you make a major left turn without cheapening what was awesome in the previous ones? Tom mentions, then they pull the rug from under you and tell you Black Widow is now a variant. Well, officially, they're all variants. Because supposedly, if you look at the way Phase 3 ended, when Phase 3 ended, that's the end of that timeline, and we're now all following the Loki timeline. Because if it wasn't the Loki timeline, then the Loki show doesn't make sense.
But
for everything else we're seeing, those all have to be following the Loki timeline.
No.
Where Loki escapes with the Cosmic Cube.
That's the variant timeline.
Yeah, so all these other things have to be in that timeline.
No, they don't have to be. They're still the main. Loki is a variant from
but if they do it that way, then Loki is irrelevant to the whole series.
But he can cross over now, so you can go wherever he wants. That's the thing. So Kenny's looking for the animated series. Wonder if it's connected. No, at the beginning. So all the TV shows coming out on Disney Plus, starting with WandaVision, are all officially part of Phase 4. So there is that. Okay, so there's I guess I don't know how to go for the rest of this, because the rest of this is like projects floating around. So I guess we can stick with the movies and then we go back to the TV shows. So Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings. So on the one hand, hooray, Asian American representation, sort of. But then at the same time, it feels weird again because it's so between Black Widow and Shang-Chi, these are traditionally street level sort of heroes.
Yeah.
In the Marvel
Although
universe.
Shang-Chi can have cosmic level thanks to their connections to Fin Fang Foom and the other mystical enemies.
But they've always kept him like street level.
Yeah.
Like he's a Marvel Knight at best.
Now, they're redoing the Ben Kingsley Mandarin.
Yes.
But boo, it's still not the Mandarin.
it's his deck.
Because the Mandarin is too much like the Infinity Gauntlet.
But plus,
in each ring,
the Mandarin is very culturally offensive.
Yeah, but in terms of like the power rings, which was the main point of that concept,
that each of the 10 rings had unique abilities. They were they were in the comics. They were derived from alien technology and
Yeah.
some crashed spaceship.
But to do that would be, oh look, it's Infinity Gauntlets as rings.
To be fair, some of his powers were very stupidly specific, like fire and ice. I know, like had separate rings
Mhm.
versus like.
But
you
there
know,
was disintegrate.
for- yeah.
And there was
I think we're not. We just have to accept we're not gonna get that Mandarin. But I don't. But it looks like now I'm just worried. Like, okay, he has these giant armband rings,
Mhm.
but it just seems to be pointing power, which is like a common
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I am happy that Aquafina's in it because I
Same.
feel like anything she's in is a delight. She is fun in comedy, but she can also be very impactful in a serious
do
movie.
you feel though she should have been a more notable Marvel character?
Who says she won't be? I don't know because in a world where Darcy can come back and be one of the most delightful things in WandaVision,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like anybody can still be like a decent, solid human character.
Who do you think she'll be if she were to be a more notable Marvel
I
character?
don't know enough about Shang-Chi's back. I mean, I've read a couple of Master of Kung Fu books here and there, but
Mhm.
it's not my favorite. The Iron Fist books were a little more interesting than Shang-Chi. So I don't know.
She could have been a reinterpretation of Jubilee.
Okay, now you're just pulling names out because he's Asian.
And
You just want to be her
comical
like a
character
Jubilee
gets
vampire.
into crazy motions and
Okay.
this and that. Eternals.
So Eternals is the weird one. Like I appreciate the scale of Eternals, but then Eternals always feels like it was the kind of thinking that we don't own the X-Men, at least at the time. Therefore, we need to bring
Mhm.
in big, powerful team group dynamic, but we can't use mutants. The Inhumans TV show flubbed, so we'll keep going, we'll keep digging, and we end up with the other Kirby creation, which is the Eternals.
My worry with Eternals is that we could have had a taste of something like the Eternals early on with Guardians of the Galaxy. That being, what was her name? Mantis. But
That's
we,
a sad Mantis.
But we got
I
a
hate
very
that
different
Mantis.
Mantis. So
I
now,
hate that Mantis.
so now that they're doing Eternals, we've seen them try to do Inhumans, and that went really bad too. So I'm really hoping that this one goes a better.
To be
better-
fair, Inhumans was a TV show and not a movie, so I don't think. Oh my god! But then the Inhumans, as far as Kirby creations are concerned, the Inhumans are way more popular than the Eternals. The
Mhm.
Eternals, I think the main thing that stands out is that they got a Neil Gaiman run, which was quite interesting, but
Mhm.
still weird. But Eternals are practically synonymous with a story that involves the Celestial, so you know
Yeah.
that's going to be a big deal. But I don't know. And hello again, RJ. You are back. And Mitch is Mitch is here. Okay.
Going forward, we have Spider-Man: No Way Home. So with this one, there's been a lot of
Speculation.
speculation of different alternate characters showing up because these actors have been listed or mentioned or spoken of in the coming movie. That includes Jamie Foxx, Alfred Molina,
And I think when they finally confirmed the title as No Way Home, that was like quite exciting. And just the structure of the title implies being in some remote location.
Mhm.
And I don't know how that's gonna work out. So I'm like cautiously optimistic.
Mhm.
I mean I do like this iteration of Spider-Man. He's fun. But at the same time, it's still technically a Sony production that gets to like park at the edge of the MCU, so that I don't think they can go full in like super involved.
So one of the comments was that it would tell a Peter Parker story not previously done on film. And what do we know that has been done? had the origin story.
We have Uncle Ben dying.
We have Gwen Stacy.
Yes, we've had Gwen Stacy
Um,
already.
We have not had the clones.
I don't want the clones.
But that would be an easy way around their multiverse concept. But
Okay.
still have all these different characters showing up.
I think it's too early to do a full Into the Spider-Verse level event.
We haven't had one of the big story arcs, which was the Sinister Six.
Yeah, we haven't had the
As
Sinister
a
Six form.
major other
which used to
story
be
arc.
like one of the rumors when it was just Sony going on its own with
Yes.
Spider-Man, and it never quite got there.
Yes.
Um,
But considering they're now pulling Electro, Octavius, we might actually have something similar
but
to
it's
Sinister
a
Six.
it's a multiversal Sinister Six.
Well, Mysterio was already in the earlier movie.
But technically dead.
Yeah, but then it's
But it's
illusions.
Mysterio.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. So like, and we don't, and ultimately we don't have a lot of solid information on No Way Home yet.
Do you want it to be a multiverse story?
Do I want, like, I guess in shorthand, do I want it to be a Spider Verse story?
Yeah,
No,
same.
I think it's too early, and it's gonna mess things up.
It's not. It's gonna compare. It's gonna be compared to the movie, and it won't beat that animated movie,
Which animated movie?
the Spider Verse. If this movie tries to do a Spider Verse story, it's gonna die in comparison to the animated Spider Verse movie.
What animated Spider Verse movie?
Miles.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Sorry, I get what you mean. I get what you mean. Sorry. See, because that lives outside the canon, then I'm the MCU canon, then I'm always confused.
So Noel shares Spider Man and friends. Oh, Firestar with microwave powers.
Funny flash fact that Firestar was created for the TV show and then only later
Adapted to the
turned into
comic.
a comic book character because of that show. Isn't it fascinating? And her powers are not fire, but microwaves. Okay. Multiverse of Madness is the next one in 2022.
So a lot of speculation, of course. Here has Wanda on the cover of the poster.
Yeah.
But then there's a lot of talk now as well online because in the comics, the major storyline in the comic books is Wanda is dead, and
The
there is-
current comics.
and there is a major trial supposedly for a trial of Magneto or something like that. And of course, a lot of people are complaining because hasn't this woman suffered enough? Now do we have to kill her?
Yeah, I had a friend who's like, Wanda's good for two things: altering reality and dying. So I hope this doesn't lead to killing her off in a movie.
So the summary here states Dr. Stephen Strange's continuing research on the Time Stone is hindered by a friend turned enemy, resulting in Strange unleashing unspeakable evil.
So when you talk about friend turned enemy, I guess they're referring. Well, on the surface, we'll say, is that Wanda now because she's super magical? But then there's also still Mordo,
Mhm.
who was turned at the end of the original Doctor Strange movie.
Noel cites House of M, but what did she say?
No more-
Marvel?
No more Fox. So because the mutant set has not been introduced, then there's nothing to House of M. And then there is the theory that goes around, maybe it's a reverse House of M that she
she'll
creates
create
mutants. But I don't know. Not enough to speculate on.
What was that other thing about this one? Oh yeah. So in WandaVision, there was that mention that the cutscene, one of the cutscenes was that Wanda was learning from Strange, and that's why in that extended ending, we see her doing the Strange studying things in
On her
rapid
own,
time
yeah.
astral form. So that sort of does connect that she would be the friend turned enemy here, and I think we all have that basic level of anticipation that she turns evil because she's looking for a way to find Vision and the kids.
Mm-mm.
So that's pretty much a
Kenny's like, no more Inhumans. Don't worry. TV did that. Poor ratings killed the Inhumans.
and what will M stand for in House of M? Because it's not Magneto. I don't know if it's going to be Maximoff because she's no longer Maximoff. She's Vision.
But she was only married in her alternate TV reality. So who's to say? Who's to say? Okay. All right. So next is Thor: Love and Thunder.
With the director Taika Waititi.
So we don't know a lot because this is still being shot. But then, of course, there's a lot of like excitement around possibly Jane Foster as well. It's incorrect to
Hello, hello. Are we back? We'll assume we're back.
Wanda,
Tom,
Wanda, what are you doing?
Tom had a nice post. No more multiverse.
Ooh,
I'd like that idea, but again, that's not House of M because
that's DC.
no, I mean,
That's DC Infinite Crisis to reduce everything to one
and
time.
House of M is its own separate multiverse. So yeah. Anyway, so Love and Thunder, in the comics, she inherits the responsibility and power of Thor, but she can't change back due to certain reasons.
No, she can.
Well, she shouldn't.
Well, every time she turns into Thor, it kills the chemotherapy drugs that are killing her cancer. That's a comic thing. Come on, it's been out for years. It's been out long enough that she's no longer Thor. Okay, so
So yeah, so it could take that direction. Um, but we also have to keep in mind that when we left Thor, he's been traveling in space.
hmm and then supposedly the Guardians are supposed to cameo, and that's been confirmed. Or at least they have some involvement in the movie, but I don't know because the Guardians still have their own trouble to deal with, and the fact that they have an alternate version of Gamora, a variant Gamora running around.
Mhm.
So let's see how that goes. Okay.
Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Um, so this obviously was um, a plan that had to go through changes,
Mhm.
given how things have happened. There is a lot of clamor, of course, for one of the ladies to step up into the role,
Mhm.
but they did also state that they are not recasting the role. So that raises the question: do you think there will be a new Black Panther, or do you think the title will remain untouched and they will now focus on the new characters?
I don't know.
Will it be like?
I mean, to be fair, the Black Panther title is not just as a hero, but technically is like the ruler. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a key role in Wakanda. So I don't think we can get away with them not having a Black Panther.
Mhm.
Which one that's going to be and how that's going to manifest, I am not going to speculate further.
Mhm.
But yeah, so again, this is like super early. We'll see how it goes.
Then we have the Marvels.
So the Marvels became the title, the confirmed title for Captain Marvel 2,
Mhm.
which is kind of exciting because it promises to tie into
Kamala
or-
Khan.
Kamala Khan as Miss Marvel, who has her own TV series. We'll talk about that in a bit. But so that's an exciting piece of thing that we're gonna get them together, and supposedly it'll even involve Monica Rambeau
From
as featured in WandaVision.
yes.
So because she is also in the comics Captain Marvel, or Photon, or many other names because she could never decide.
So with the current ongoing stuff that's on screen, we do have the cartoon where we have Miss Marvel and Squirrel Girl already present.
Marvel Rising, but
Yeah.
but it's not necessarily MCU.
But
It's confusing.
it still is a means for people to be familiar with the character before the thing comes out.
That is true. That is true.
So do you think they will cast the Squirrel Girl?
I want them to, but they won't. Not yet. Not yet.
Mhm.
Because to be fair, I mean, if we're going to do this in proper like MCU early phase fashion, you really need to introduce the character well.
Mhm.
And to be fair, they've done that in the past when it's new character stuff, they really focus on that, and especially for someone like for Miss Marvel, given her role, I mean, given her immigrant ancestry and the like, I mean, that's a very sensitive subject. They need to treat that show with a lot of respect. So I don't think they're gonna muddy it with too many other heroes.
Black Swana mentions, didn't the TVA say that the events of Endgame were meant to happen though? We cannot comment on that without spoiling one of the more recent episodes. Yes. Moving on. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. So this one I feel is weird
Why weird?
because the quantum realm, which was introduced early on,
Yes.
I feel like they already used it as a McGovern, as a major thing in the previous phase.
Okay.
So to make it a focus of this phase again feels wrong.
more adventurous in that tiny place. I mean, I get that because because it was such a big focus in Ant Man and the Wasp to like find the original Wasp.
They've already traveled through it, and then we already got the mention of it again for the last Infinity story.
Yeah,
So to make it a focus of another movie again feels like,
but at the same time, what else does Ant Man have going for him? He gets very very small. That's his thing.
well, we've already kasi done the Age of Ultron, which was the Pym story arc.
Well, it should have been, but it wasn't.
Mhm.
It was an Iron Man story arc.
So now that we have Wasp and Ant Man together, I feel this could have been a focus instead on West Coast Avengers or something,
But-
where they try to form a new Avengers group.
Well, at the same time, we have the wrong Ant Man for that.
It doesn't matter; it's the cinematic universe.
Yeah, but still, but the very characterization of Scott Lang is not a serious leader type. He's always been very small time, very focused on his daughter, which they've kept consistent. And so it's like, uh, um, they're not the team building types.
Well, I could see it as he was super. I call him Captain America. He's my friend, and now that Cap's gone, I have to do it. So I could have seen it go in that direction.
I don't see him being that responsible because he's still a small time crook who became a hero.
Well, it's still, of course, the Great Lakes, and they're not going to be a serious group if it went that direction.
You think? Well, I don't.
Flat man,
But I don't think he wasn't. Well, in the comics, he had no relationship with the Great Lakes Avengers.
but again, you're trying to make it comics accurate. This is the cinematic universe.
No, but even if it's not comic accurate, they don't even go so left field. Like they've been consistent in playing around within the references in the comics. So we've been generally consistent with Scott Lang being Scott Lang, and then not going as far as just pulling random teams in. That's why I feel like it's not going to work. And then West Coast was also very, I don't know. It needed a whole different Hawkeye. Okay, so
Guardians Volume 3.
at this point, I don't even know anymore what's going to happen to the Guardians because I think the only hanging question was just Gamora being, it's not the same Gamora. It's the Gamora that is absolutely prepared to kill Quill.
And they did abandon, they hinted at Adam Warlock and then they threw it away. So unless they bring back that golden sarcophagus and reveal it to be something else, that will forever be we just threw away that idea.
If anything, though, which is probably not something you can base anything on, but then they brought Adam Warlock into into Marvel Strike Force, but at the same time they brought in Phyla-Vell and Moondragon, who are totally not getting movies. Okay, so Tom says maybe Wasp might be the type to make a team, maybe. Um, and then it was it's not gonna be the same without Dave Bautista as Drax. I'm okay. Only and I say this as a comic book person because Dave Bautista Drax was so not comic Drax and he was so one note that I am stupid. That was his main characterization, which was Drax's comic characterization for a while, but then when he did become part of the Guardians of the Galaxies, he was just very lethal and not just strong stupid.
Yeah, I think Volume 3's main problem is you are dealing with characters who either have supposedly completed major story arcs. That's what's his name? Oh man, I can't remember the name of the characters. Well, Thor already had a rise and fall and depression and all this and that, and is back to being a hero. You have some of the characters resolving their issues with their sisters and all this and that. So, what else will you squeeze out of them to create new stories?
So
Groot has literally become a new character. We've had oh my gosh, what's the name? What's the name that?
Rocket.
Yeah, Rocket. Rocket went through his own growth.
Yes.
Of not really caring and hating everyone to finally learning to have family and all this that. So
Yeah, they ended at a nice place.
yeah, so this really feels like it's just
And then it's like considering there was a controversy for like James Gunn, like because of old tweets, blah blah blah, and then now he's back involved. Then like I don't know, I'm like cautious to see where it's gonna go. But then who knows? I mean, like the first Guardians, while not a very comic book Guardians, was still a delightful movie and a high point in that phase of the MCU. Then the last bit, which is just floating around because it just keeps flashing the logo, is that there is a Fantastic Four movie, and this the main excitement for a Fantastic Four movie is that it's back from being with Fox, and they can finally tie things in. Although again, Fantastic Four are definitely the kind of people like if half of the population of all reality disappeared, you would think that the Fantastic Four would be on the case.
so this almost tells us one, they existed and were out of our galaxy at that time,
Out of our
which is very
multiverse
Fantastic
universe, yeah.
Four. Or two, we're going to have another origin story.
But I think they can't get away without an origin story of some sort. I just don't
sorry,
know what origin.
They're going to have a post blip
origin
origin story.
That's yeah. So it's like it's either they always existed but they're from a different universe, or something's going to create the Fantastic Four.
Hmm.
My only hope is that we get a decent Doctor Doom this time, because I love Doctor Doom. Is one of my favorite characters, but every iteration of him in the movies has been horrible, 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 horrible. Okay, then TV shows.
So for the shows,
So we're okay with up until Loki, so we get to go after what's coming up next after Loki, which
so
is
after Loki is What If, which is an animated series that explores a lot of what if questions. For those who are not familiar, What If is a comic series where they really do explore literal what ifs. There was a what if the Avengers all died in the story arc? What if this character became Sorcerer Supreme, and so on and so forth.
yeah. So it was a very tongue in cheek book. Well, in terms of like covers and titles, but then actually the way they depicted the stories was very serious. And then the whole thing was quote unquote hosted by the Watcher, and then it
Mhm.
looks like this animated series will be as well. There has been a teaser. There's been a teaser trailer already released, and then you see things like Black Panther as the Guardians of the Galaxy character,
Mhm.
or Peggy Carter becoming the super soldier Captain America,
Mhm.
and things like that. So that's interesting. And then I think most people are excited because it implies, alternate realities, therefore multiverse of madness, all that jazz.
Noel mentions, what if they'll introduce Franklin Richards? I'm afraid if they do, because it's another Wanda character.
That is true. His power is literally change reality.
So,
He is an Omega level mutant.
and I'm starting to worry if they do that, because it kind of weakens what made Wanda interesting. Because currently, with everyone, she's the one with powers to really do these things,
Mhm.
compared to like Strange, who had to learn it, and other characters who do it thanks to certain artifacts.
Hmm.
So to have Franklin Richards come in and, oh look, it's another one.
And he's a child.
So I'm kind of worried if they go in that direction.
So is it like each episode is a one shot? That seems to be the implication, that it's an episodic series. But again, we don't know enough. We're just basing off a single trailer. But it would make a nice anthology series. It makes sense to me in that format. Oh, sorry, I mentioned Omega level mutant. I meant just like, what is Omega level and what are the other levels? You can just leave it at Omega are like the strongest mutants, but then it doesn't really matter because we don't have mutants in the MCU officially yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And then moving forward, Miss Marvel, a series is coming out.
So, so again, like I'm excited for Miss Marvel because she was a breath of fresh air as a comic book character because of the fact that she represents an aspect of the American population that doesn't get a lot of limelight, especially like she's Muslim and all these things, like all these things that are very previously controversial, and then they were trying to give a voice for it. And then I think the original stories really did well with it. They were teen stories. but also teen minority stories, and then and she shined, and she's really a fun character. I just not sure how it's going to go.
In the comic, she was an inhuman.
Yes, she was an Inhuman in the comics, and
She admired Captain Marvel,
Yes.
hence the name. But her powers were shape changing.
well, in beginning, size changing,
Yeah.
size changing, basically. And
So she didn't transform to objects, but she could make her limbs, her body larger,
yes,
and stretch her limbs and all this and that.
and then it just makes her very, very tired.
Mhm.
This and the fact that, well, the fact that it's getting a prominent series. One, of course, it's an obvious kid play, but then also many like to speculate that because she is one of the more prominent like youth heroes
Mhm.
in the Marvel comics world, then will it open the doors for uh, other young heroes, and hence there's a lot of, which is funny, a lot of was this Young Avengers talk, because many Young Avengers characters have been implied to be floating around.
Mhm.
Like Ant Man's daughter Cassie
Mhm.
at one point in time was a Young Avenger in the comics.
Hawkeye's
Protege.
protege was supposed to be also one.
But then Miss Marvel isn't. She
But-
was a champion, but
but-
again, young hero, so enough. Close enough. Yeah. Although, in terms of her original team, there was Miles, but then Miles is in the wrong universe at the moment.
Then there's Hawkeye. We're huge fans of the comic that this one's supposedly be drawing from.
If it's the Matt Fraction run,
Well, they're using the same logo.
that is true. That is true. And they have Pizza Dog.
And it's the story. Wherein it's the protege learning from him, and he's not really that good a teacher. So whether it will capture the feel of the comic that we really liked is questionable, especially since the comic was very tongue in cheek, despite having a serious story.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Jeremy Renner will be able to carry that.
Yeah, I mean, like, he can be kind of funny, but he's not like super haha funny. And then in terms of like part of the charm of the comic was that it wasn't a new Kate. Kate was established. Thus, Kate would argue she wasn't Lady Hawkeye.
Mm.
She was also Hawkeye,
Yeah.
and then they were at the same level of skill and blah blah blah. So I don't know what the dynamic's going to be in this TV series. But we will see.
And then we have Moon Knight.
Oh man, this feels
So
this is
Moon
another
Knight-
left field one.
Moon Knight is one of those comics. Amazing. There was that amazing run where they really stopped trying to portray Moon Knight as Batman and just portrayed him as a superhero who happens to also be dangerously insane. He, it did not attempt to give a positive spin to the fact that this was someone who was willing to kill people who he felt deserved it.
Yeah, I mean, like, for context, I mean, because there was like things like the Bendis run that really pushed that, and then there was the Jeff Lemire run that gave him a lot more focus. But ultimately, because there have been so many different takes on the character over the years, I think it was Bendis who really codified that all of them are real. It turns out he has multiple personality disorder,
Yeah.
and then that's why he has such diverse depictions of himself. And I don't know how they're gonna take that into a TV series.
And I don't also know how it's going to connect. I mean, if it is like the previous phases wherein even smaller characters sort of are in the sphere of the narrative, he's very street level.
Oh yes, I mean him and Miss Marvel are
Yeah.
both, which is like a trend we're seeing. A lot of street level heroes.
But at least Miss Marvel, we can imagine, might be leading to a team.
Yeah,
Moon Knight wasn't a team player, despite him having many
he's literally
attempts to have
too
team
crazy
stories.
to work with. So yeah, there. I mean, the whole point of the Bendis comic that it depicted him working with Spider-Man and Wolverine, and then apparently he wasn't. So I'll leave it at that.
She-Hulk then comes in.
Also street level, technically.
So I can't help but feel like She-Hulk. I feel like they liked what Daredevil did, and so now they're trying to put in another lawyer.
Which is like truly, what She-Hulk should be.
Yeah.
She's a sassy, I mean, good legal drama superhero, incidentally, and good casting. Tatiana Maslany. I mean, she's a solid, very very solid
Mhm.
actress for genre TV. Mark Ruffalo is supposed to come back as the Hulk, and then Tim Roth is coming back as Abomination, which is kind of scary. But beyond that, I don't know.
I want She-Hulk and Moon Knight to be self-contained. I don't want them to be part of Phase 4 officially. Sort of like how Alias and Defenders and Daredevil were self-contained stories.
Mm.
I want them to not feel the burden of having to connect.
Yeah. Well, if it's anything, if you look at the likes of like WandaVision and Winter Soldier, like again, they are shows that didn't really feel like they were connecting. I mean, they were affected by past events, but it didn't feel like they were setting up
Yeah,
future events. They're still character driven.
but they were part of the crew we knew before.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was easier to jump into.
We haven't really seen stuff for new characters.
For these that are completely new, they might feel they have to connect them somehow because people might not be interested in seeing them.
Tom's asking which cinema handles Morbius. So that's totally on the Sony side of the fence.
Yep.
I don't know what to take with that trailer. And it's Morbius is really one of those Spider-Man characters like nobody asked to see a movie for Morbius, but here we are.
And Sony is really pushing for this
Spider multiverse.
and Venom
thing.
is a hero.
Yeah.
And as much as I'm a huge fan of the actor, there was that recent news that he now has writer's credit for the Venom movie as well because he's that involved.
Oh my. Oh my.
So
Oh my.
love you, Tom Hardy, but it's a comic book character. I'm not sure what. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Secret Invasion. So supposedly, Secret Invasion is a series centered on Nick Fury, with Samuel Jackson reprising the role. But we still don't know if it's full filming or if it's animation. It states filming, but
I don't know what that means. Yeah.
I don't know because it's admittedly my biggest worry for this one, if it is a TV series, is it's a very high budget series.
Yeah, because if you really want Secret Invasion, anything similar to the comics, it means you're gonna have to depict global impact at the very least.
And okay, so comics has the freedom of look, Captain America, blah blah blah. No, they're Skrulls
Yeah.
because we just draw them.
Yeah. And
If the
they,
show
they
will do
literally
that-
had GMA.
Yeah, but if the show will do that, then they'll need to hire those actors.
They'll need the rights to so many things.
And-
yeah.
And if it's a TV series again, I don't see how that's gonna work budget wise. So I'm really worried about this one.
And it's only 6 episodes. The actual Secret Invasion as a comic book was like so many issues across
Because
different
the
titles.
cheaper way they'll do it is they'll just use clips from the previous stuff.
Yeah. But then it was a weird clip show
And worse,
with
those
with
people
reveal.
suddenly are just Skrulls and not really them. So it's a tricky place the show's in. I don't know. Because the last thing that might happen, which will be the saddest, is oh yes, these people actually are Skrulls, but they were nobody. They weren't anyone notable. So
Then what was the big plan?
so Secret Invasion was replacing civilians.
Yeah. Yeah, not world leaders or heroes.
Then we have the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special.
Well, this one I just feel is just they're just having fun. Obviously, it's a reference to the Star Wars Holiday Special, which in itself was a direct-to-TV weird release.
They do claim it's set between the Thor and the Guardians movie.
Thor: Love and Thunder and Guardians of the Galaxy
So
Volume
I'm not
3.
sure how much of a bottle thing this is going to be
Yeah,
to be able to set between those two.
but it's also James Gunn involved, and he's involved in both this and Guardian. So at the very least, he gets to control the sort of
Yeah.
endpoints there.
We're looking at Ironheart, which is Riri Williams, who I guess is our next generation carrying the torch for Iron Man. So again, there is that overall theme of
younger
the new
heroes.
younger heroes.
And she was on Miss Marvel's team, which was the champions in the
Mhm.
comics. So then we have part like part young Avengers, part champions, but all young heroes kind of getting a prominent position. So that could be interesting.
Okay. Given all the young ones,
But it's only 6 episodes again.
then that's how it won't be canon because it's going to be the young one.
If he's involved, yes. But you know, but they've already cast the adult one.
Yeah, but they'll like be a fake villain like Ben Kingsley.
Oh my god, are we going to do another Mandarin?
Because it's a
And Jed
phase
is
4
here,
and there
hello,
has
Jed.
to be a phase 5 reveal.
Yeah.
And that's where the Fantastic Four come in. Okay, Iron Wars.
Armor Wars.
Armor Wars. So this was a big storyline for Iron Man in the comics. Um,
It is interesting because it was a big Iron Man story, and now technically Iron Man is. I mean, Tony Stark is not in the picture,
yeah.
so then it's going to have to be carried entirely by War Machine, James Rhodes. But I don't know. I don't know how that's going to go.
What I don't like about Armor Wars at this point in time is that the idea of Stark tech having been stolen for bad things was already done
in the
in a-
Spider-Man ones and
in
all
the
the
Iron
others.
Man movie.
Yeah.
So we've already done it as an Iron Man story. We've touched on it more in Spider Man. So we're sort of like touching the same ground again.
And then I don't know. Did we need more Don Cheadle as War Machine? Is that in demand?
My only hope is the reason why this is here is because the armor is important to the overall plot, which again brings us to the young Kang.
Mm. And the fact that they're taking time to introduce Ironheart also.
Mhm.
So
And finally, we have the Untitled Wakanda series. So, given that it's still untitled and all that, I think this is the one where we'll have the least to say. Which then brings me to bring up something that's not on the list because it's not Phase 4, but we had the MODOK series that was really fun.
Oh yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed MODOK. It was crazy stupid. It makes me want to buy MODOK related comics, which there are few.
Mhm.
So okay, so on the whole, Phase 4 has a lot of moving pieces, and I'm worried. I mean, like, as much as the different Marvel phases um, didn't necessarily have a single story, right? It was like, let me tell these individual stories, and I'll tease connections between the two to some degree with occasional callouts. I mean, this is not to say that each phase is meant to be super tied together in a neat bow. But the sheer number of projects involved in phase 4 do make me worry about how well they're going to be able to keep things connected. Plus the fact that COVID has already thrown out a lot of schedules and plans, and so we're getting a lot of like juggling and revising to make do with the current release orders.
Now we know that the cinematic universe does take large liberties in simplifying certain story arcs.
Mm-hmm.
The Ultron, Age of Ultron story, for example, was such a huge thing in the comics. And yet we had it as one movie.
Yeah, it was literally a Terminator-like event.
The Infinity Gauntlet saga was big, and thankfully the movies did kind of show it as big.
It had good scale.
But then the movies jumped very quickly to Infinity War title only, not story,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't touch on a lot of the cosmic angle that the Infinity stories had. So, given that knowledge, we then can look at many of the existing Marvel story arcs and see the possibilities. So, Secret Invasion was mentioned by name, and Secret Invasion was the story when the Marvel heroes learned that a lot of their allies and enemies had actually been secretly replaced by Skrulls.
Because
And
they're shapeshifters.
and this secret invasion has been ongoing. No one knows how deep it goes. Um, Worse in terms of comics was after Secret Invasion eventually led to a lot of major story arcs, one after the other. It was
Yeah.
like there was no time to breathe.
I think we're back. So, but the original Secret Invasion comic in itself was like because people were so fractured by Civil War, then
Mm.
they were super ripe for Secret Invasion.
But even around that time, we had Disassembled. We had what was that other one? Um, Illuminati
yes,
and all this and that. So since now we have Secret Invasion as possibly a standalone,
TV series.
we then have to look at the Kree Skrull War as one of the major story arcs that Marvel had.
That is true.
Because with the Kree present, which supposedly were playing a bigger role with the Inhumans, now that we have the Eternals instead, do you think that they'll try to connect it to that?
I don't know because okay, to be fair, the Kree Skrull War sounds great as a title.
Hmm.
In actual execution in the comic, because it came out in the 70s, wasn't that big.
And it was like so out there because
It
it,
was
wasn't
like-
really affecting
it
the
was
world.
like it was like a few issues and then we're okay. And a lot of the Skrull stories at the time were always resolved that way.
And
like,
the focus was Captain Marvel. So we
Yeah.
sort of already had that with the Captain Marvel movie.
yes. But this is to be fair for clarity for viewers, the comic storyline involved Captain Marvel,
Yeah.
the guy. Okay.
So Avengers Defenders War was the next one in the 70s, which basically
Wow, I
had
totally don't remember that. one.
we had the heroes fighting, but they were manipulated by Loki and what's his name, the fire one,
Dormammu.
Dormammu. For some reason, I was thinking letter V.
Vormammu.
So we could assume this is already done because this is sort of like Civil War. Loki was the main villain, so I doubt they'll touch on that.
Yeah.
We can skip Thanos related stuff. Let's assume all Thanos stuff is dead.
Yes.
Secret Wars, again, Marvel condensed it to one movie.
What do you mean?
Well, no, Civil War.
Yeah, we had Civil War, not Secret Wars.
Yeah. So Secret Wars is the Beyonder story.
Yes.
And we have not had a Beyonder story. We probably won't have a Beyonder story
Because he's too weird.
unless you see any possibility of this one, Phase 4, being a Beyonder story and not Kang.
Because, okay, in all fairness, Beyonder as a villain, at the point of his original release in Secret Wars and then later Secret Wars 2, he was a very stupid villain.
Yeah.
He was a very stupid antagonist because we have to remember that Secret Wars was contrived to have a toy line that featured all the Marvel heroes together. So they needed a crossover event
Mhm.
to put them together because DC had DC superpowers, which is
Yeah.
already awesome. And that's the official story of Secret Wars, like why it came to be. It was brought together for marketing. So it was a very shallow story in that regard. So I don't think, but the Beyonder did get like some redemption when it became to Secret Wars,
Yeah.
the later reboot, the Marvel Universe event, and that was okay.
We'll skip the mutant related story arcs because
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Not yet.
Atlantis attacks, totally out of nowhere if it's going to happen in the story arc.
Yeah, we don't have a name or
Yeah, we have no rumors of Namor at all. Acts of Vengeance.
Oh, that was cute, but not strong. No.
Acts of Vengeance will only work if we have Doom and the other villains already present.
Yeah, you need strong villains who are still alive to like
And
commit acts
And
of
have
revenge.
reason to hate them.
Yeah,
So it's not there. So we'll skip the Infinity stuff.
because we're
We'll
technically
skip
done.
Age of Apocalypse. So now we lead to Avengers Disassembled, which in paper sounds like an awesome story, but they're already disassembled.
Yeah, they're kind of there because
So-
so many people have walked away, died, and moved on.
So moving beyond that, House of M we're ignoring as well. Annihilation.
Too cosmic.
Annihilation might actually be a Phase 5 if the Fantastic Four is already present.
It could be. It could be.
But I don't see it anywhere near now.
Noel's like, didn't they say Captain Marvel 2 will show Rogue as a villain? I have not. There's no mutant confirmation in any of the Marvel movies, as far as I know it, except for Wanda's kids possibly being mutants.
So we're skipping a lot of the Annihilation stuff. Secret Invasion was there. So Dark Reign. Dark Reign was when a villain became the president.
Yes, and then the fact that because of the fallout of what's this Civil War and Secret Invasion,
Yeah.
then there was a gap in in the hero
So
world.
Dark Reign can't work because we don't really have
Prominent villains
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
And in many ways, this already was sort of when we had Hail Hydra happening.
Mm-mm.
It will be the same story. War of Kings
Mutant.
um, had the Inhumans TV series gone well, this could have been
Could
a
have been a thing.
candidate. Utopia again needs mutants. Fall of Hulks, we sort of got that with the Hulk movie, sort of. Then we have Siege, which
I
is a
don't
Loki
think-
story.
But
so,
yeah, we're not ready for another
Yeah.
big Loki event. Okay.
so we'll skip Realm of Kings and World War Hulk. Shadowlands sort of was what the Daredevil series tried to do.
Yeah, it was
Because,
kind
yeah.
of going into that direction.
And
But
then Daredevil becoming cruel and all
yeah,
this and
yeah.
that. Chaos War is doubtful because this one needs Sentry, right?
Ah, yeah, yeah.
And I don't see Sentry coming in anytime soon.
But when Sentry does appear, we'll all get to say he was always there.
Fear itself could have been a major story arc had they not been doing Love and Thunder.
And yeah, even What If? I mean, because they need the Watchers a bit more prominent
Mhm.
for Fear itself to work.
And Fear itself feels so out of there if Love and Thunder is the direction they're going.
yeah, if it's going to be lighter and yes, Nope.
Schisms, X-Men again, Spider Islands. Okay, all of this are mutant related, Spider-Man focus, but I doubt it. So Revolutionary War.
what is that one?
I don't know, but I will go back to the instead. There was the High Evolutionary story in the past, which led to Terminus, the giant robot created by the High Evolutionary.
Wow, that's like a super specific factoid you have dug up there.
Do you find
You're so
yourself?
cute.
Do you find yourself?
Terminus.
Because they have the Celestials, which then they have the Eternals, which connect to the Celestials,
Yes.
which then you can have the High Evolutionary come in, and he can be the vehicle for mutants later on.
Plus, he had a very strong Wanda connection originally.
Yes.
I mean, like in the comics.
So that is still a possible story, maybe in Phase 5 or something, for all we know.
even if it just plays out in the TV shows, I'd be okay.
Now, Original Sin is when a Watcher is murdered.
Yeah.
But we don't have a prominent Watcher.
Yeah, yeah.
Had they made a Watcher the surprise ending for any of the TV series, I would open up Original Sin as a possible major story arc.
I mean, we're sort of gonna get it in What If, but I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think the cartoon
because
will
nobody
be
is
the-
going to encounter him.
Yeah. So then we go through a lot of the other
Oh, Six's access was
the other major stories. Now, not here is the Young Avengers. So let's talk about Young Avengers. In Young Avengers, we had people who first glance looked like analogs of the Avengers.
Yes,
We
they
had
were
someone
very
like Hulk, we
yeah.
had someone like Thor, we had someone like Iron Man, someone like Captain America.
someone like Scarlet Witch.
But then we discover the Hulk character is more a shapeshifter. The Thor character is more a wizard. The Iron Man turns out to be
Not Iron Man.
and that connects to the possible villain. Given all the young ones, do you think that's a direction they'll go?
I don't think so. I think it's the kind of fan bait that's going to get us super excited and invested in the hopes of a Young Avengers connection to that big villain.
Mhm.
But it could just be like WandaVision where people work themselves up into a frenzy
Yeah.
about Mephisto and we didn't get Mephisto.
Do you see a possibility though of Riri Williams having an Iron Lad story?
I don't know. I don't know.
But
Only-
will she just be a girl who inherits the armor? Or will she be like Iron Lad special in that way?
But because was this what made her prominent is that she's supposed to be a genius.
Yeah,
And then she made her own armor.
yeah.
So any inheritance style story would be a disservice to her
But
original character.
but there's Armor Wars na kasi.
Yeah, about Stark Tech getting out there.
Oo eh.
But I mean, if we go by the original comic concept, she was strictly engineering. She could
Mhm.
make the armor. She didn't have AI, so she
Mhm.
needed Stark AI to run her own armor.
Mhm.
So that was like an interesting limitation. But I don't know, and I don't know if I wanna. Personally, and then maybe this is just me, but I feel like connecting Riri to Iron Lad in the original Young Avengers is a bit of a stretch.
Mhm.
Um, because we don't have Young Avengers confirmation quite. We don't have any hint of Iron Lad. I mean, like this is a lot of
I was thinking there's no Iron Lad. I
Yeah.
think she'll be the Iron Lad in the story, meaning she's the Iron Man analog for the kids.
Mm,
Just as Hulkling and Wiccan, while hinted at WandaVision, are then replaced by Miss Marvel as the shape-changing Hulk character. And then Wiccan character might be, I don't know, someone who has magic powers that they'll introduce for all we know.
Orko.
I mean, maybe Doctor Strange will have a protege, or maybe Wanda is the protege. So it's going to be weird. It's an adult woman and all these kids. I don't know.
With amazing bending abilities.
Noel mentions, actually thought they'll show the Watchers and Loki, but instead they showed the Timekeepers. Well, if you've seen that episode, then you know what happens to the Timekeepers. So everything's still in the air.
I'm not that surprised. Oh well, only because from the very start they established it was a TVA, and then that to choose that organization with very specific implications in terms of the comics.
Yeah.
Then it was never going to be the Watchers. Plus, as much as MCU can play slightly fast and loose, but they've always been very true to like integral aspects of different characters. And the whole shtick of the Watchers is non-involvement
Yeah.
and watching. So, it wouldn't have made sense if it were the Watchers because the TVA is all about manipulating and interfering and cleaning up the timeline. Yeah. Did they? It's interesting that a lot of these new shows though are all like 6 episode specials,
I think they're just learning from BBC.
or they're learning from COVID that they don't have the runway to do longer shows, so they're keeping it as tight as possible.
Now, looking at everything we have so far, so who are our possible villains? So Kang has been mentioned a lot as a
Someone has been
possibility.
cast as Kang, yes.
Other villains that we haven't really had in any appearances yet, but we'd love to see. Doctor Doom would be a dream. With Fantastic Four coming in, that would be awesome. But the fact that we haven't really had any Latveria hints makes it less likely. Compared to Mephisto, as terrible as the Mephisto hopes and dreams were present in the WandaVision moments were,
I don't think we're gonna get a Mephisto.
But-
He's just too tricky a character. to
but
bring
he
in.
hits the street level.
Yes, to some degree. But then we
Midnight
also,
Suns.
but we don't have most of the Midnight Suns.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. They're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
here.
Okay, Tom was like, I thought Iron Man was hinted at in Iron Man 3, the kid in the garage. No implication. I don't know, because that's not. I guess if we think about the MCU versions are still kind of related to how they came up in the comics, then the kid in the garage, his origin story still sounds closer to Riri Williams
Yes, exactly.
than to Iron Lad.
That's why I was wondering if they're switching it around. Because that kid in the garage was in the funeral.
Yeah.
So maybe Riri's introduction here will be she's jumping from the future. Just because they're trying to make sure that the roles are there.
I'm surprised that Don Cheadle is still involved in this franchise. I feel like, he never really matched my idea of Rhodey. Like,
Okay, I will have to throw this in.
okay.
He could be the connection to Riri,
Let's look at direct relation.
or a descendant or something.
Okay.
Just because we're looking at inheritance as the main theme.
Possible.
Which raises the question, Love and Thunder, it can't stay with her.
The power.
So someone will have to inherit the hammer.
Unless it's literally her inheriting the hammer. Because Chris Hemsworth is off the hook now.
Yeah, but I don't see her carrying the franchise.
There is that. There is that.
So I'm worried that they might have something.
And then
I doubt they'll gender bend Riri in the sense that
it's similar to Miss Marvel. She's
Yeah.
too important a minority character to
Yeah.
mess around. And oh my god, can you imagine the headlines if they turn Riri into a guy?
Hmm.
It's going to be social justice nightmare.
Throg has appeared. That's all I can say about that. So going to what we know then, Power Broker. If Power Broker is a Phase 4 villain,
Of sorts, yes.
then we can see something like Secret Wars. Well, no, not Secret Wars, but basically the powers versus power sort of thing, story arc, wherein she'll empower a bunch of people to fight. And
maybe, maybe, but I guess I'm so dismissive of Power Broker because one, Falcon and the Winter Soldier really didn't handle that
yeah,
well.
and they didn't even care about Power.
I know it's like we just left this loose end, and then the main power that Power Broker could only seem to give was strength,
It's serums.
was super soldier
So-
serum, but it wasn't like the full comic book. Like I will make you into.
Okay, so let's
A
move it
full-on
forward. We then have Taskmaster.
I
Now,
love Taskmaster, but I don't know if he's gonna be cool.
now, if we imagine Taskmaster with Power Broker, so we've already had Hydra. Are we seeing AIM?
I'd like. I know. Actually, I don't know.
Are we seeing the Serpent Society?
Oh my god. We had our chance for the Serpent Society with Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Actually, I was wanting that for
Because
Captain America and the
because
Winter
that was
Soldier.
the original run that when Sam Wilson became Captain America, his initial run-in, similar to the original Captain America, was the Serpent
And
Society.
it would have felt better because now you have the Power Broker, and look, she empowered a theme of villains.
Yeah, right.
So it would have been an interesting approach. Fear itself, the main story of Fear itself was an evil god who gives hammers to the villains
yeah,
to fight the heroes.
But it was
um,
very Asgardian.
Yeah. Now we don't see that as a possibility here, given Asgard one is less mystical than it wasn't because they kind of made it. It's a super
Yeah.
Kirby-esque science.
Two, they're like space gypsies at the moment.
And three, we've already had an Asgardian go evil and attack, and that's called Hela.
Mm.
So it's sort of repeating
Well,
that
sorry.
same.
They're space gypsies, but they're temporarily on Earth.
So who else are we seeing then? High Evolutionary, I mentioned only because of the celestial connection. But again, High Evolutionary feels like you need the mutants or the Inhumans, and neither are present.
Yes.
Um,
I'm curious about bringing in Yelena Bolova as Black Widow. I don't know if that means they want to see if they can push her.
I feel she's the inheritance character. She's the
There
new
is that.
Widow.
She's the new Black Widow.
And she's young enough to play that. Florence isn't really a younger character, but she's always played roles that make her look younger, so it kind of works.
Hmm.
Thor, I really feel Jane Foster is pregnant and will inherit. I feel like it's going to be that sort of a story. And since it's like super science, oh look, the baby's out after 1 year or something, and it's a young adult.
That would be funny.
If they were smart, though, the inheritance character for the Thor legacy would be Kid Loki.
Oh, that would be cool.
That would have been better.
That would have been cool.
And can you imagine the heroes and they look at Loki and he's like, what? I'm a hero now. That would have been so much better. So, what villains do we have left? Doctor Doom needs Fantastic Four. Galactus needs Fantastic Four.
And then parang you're already juggling Celestials. Can you really juggling Galactus? I mean, like, well, in terms of like MCU as a whole, that's like those are some really big cosmic hitters.
Unless it's
Floating
another
around.
deadly cloud.
Oh my god! Can we not have any more alien cloud monsters?
Okay.
I hope.
So in terms of Marvel villains, Kingpin is of course Daredevil material.
Yes.
Crossbones we've already had. Justin Hammer we've already had. Ronan we've already had. Zola, I think it's a fan favorite. People want Zola back, and I can't help but feel Armor Wars might touch on that.
Maybe. I mean, like any. You just assume that he is backed up to a computer somewhere.
Grandmaster Claw, we've already had these.
And Grandmaster is coming back in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Mhm.
Apparently, Sakaar is still a thing.
So these are all basically the ones that have appeared in
Yeah, these are like
media
all
so far.
MCU ones.
So what villains have not appeared? Oops, this is still cinematic universe. Um, here. Well, the Brood is still X-Men.
Yeah, we're out for a lot of um, mutant related, Spider-Man related are all off limits. Fantastic
We're
Four
not
is still starting.
we're not in the era anymore to have the Russian bad guys.
Hence, they're already good guys.
Yeah.
I mean, like we already have Red
So
Guardian.
so that
and stuff.
also removes super adaptoid stories and the like.
Plus, wasn't Super Adapter kind of aimish? And Joe Boy's like Modoc.
MODOK already had a series, and MODOK was the hero.
And I don't know, it's hard to take Modoc seriously. I mean, I appreciate that they made it into a robot chicken style.
Ahab still is X-Men.
We're literally going through villains in the list.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any major ones that we're overlooking.
Yeah, because like then a lot of the cosmic ones are kind of Fantastic Four. When you think about Annihilus, Blastar, I mean, like it's a bunch of heralds and whatnot. So that's not really an option.
The ancient one has become a hero.
I'm so more familiar with Spider-Man villains, and they're all off limits. At least, yeah, generally.
Annihilus still feels like
It's Fantastic Four.
Four. Apocalypse is definitely X-Men.
Arcade. That's so super random. Although he's been mostly involved in Spider-Man and the X-Men.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're ever gonna touch Mephisto, only because are they really ready to have a movie with a literal devil in it? I mean, like that's there is that. It's like as much as you can say it's still a fictional thing, but then the optics of
Yeah,
A devil
it's
story.
tricky. It's
Yeah.
tricky to have a devil story arc. But at the same time, I don't see them doing like the Void, the opposite of Sentry.
Oh, if it's any weird consolation, Marvel Strike Force pushed another update this week. Obviously, and then our running theme has been Black Widow. But then this week introduces announcements that they're making provisions for the likes of Maria Hill to come back into the game, to come into the game, which is like, oh, we haven't heard from her in a while. And then we're gonna get our own Sharon Carter, but she's Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Sharon Carter with a hoodie. So it's like, oh, okay, that's the look we're going for. Um, wow, so many villains are like so specific to like uh particular incarnations. Toby's still scrolling, and then I'm looking through,
Yeah.
and like nobody really like jumps out of you.
And a lot of them are super narrow.
Yeah, they're super one-off. Like a few stories. They're
So
only
like,
minor.
let's say Blob. That's a Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. That has to be X-Men. Then you have, let's say, Nightmare, which was very Daredevil.
Nightmare, no, Doctor Strange,
Doctor Strange.
and Sleepwalker.
Yeah, I remember Mephisto and like yeah.
Then there's rumors of another Blade movie, so the vampire angle may come back. But then,
But isn't
that-
the Blade movie the other studio again?
I don't know. It's far off into the future. But yeah, it's not in the MCU Phase 4 slate. What else? What else is there to? Yeah, we're kind of out of like a lot of because our big hitters are like if we just focus on the characters who are there now, like so obviously Doctor Strange has to face off Baron Mordo eventually. So I feel like that, and where else will he go? Like that's going to become the fulfillment because a lot of his other villains are cosmic level, which
Mhm.
is like Dormammu, Nightmare, and such. And then the rest of the slate,
Because we don't even have the Shi'ar.
because again, that I mean,
X-Men.
they were still more X-Men, even though they're cosmic in
Yeah.
scale. And yeah, and then the Eternals don't really have a villain per se. More often than not, it's them against the world and their
Yeah.
own foibles. And then
And in many ways, the Eternals sort of like were alternate Avengers.
Yeah.
Parang you'll have stories of certain Avengers with some of the Eternals or that sort of thing.
For Captain Marvel, actually, I don't know what villains they're gonna throw her way. Because it's like, sure, they're just bringing in all the people with name that are Marvel named and bringing them together. But I don't know how it's going to be tied together. It has a feeble antagonist, it seems, but that's as far as it'll go. And then the rest of the MCU Phase 4 slate doesn't really promise you very specific villains. It's just Quantum Mania that they pulled in a big name in the form of Kang.
Okay, so I think given we can't really find any other major villain as the possible enemies, that then leaves the door open for me to the last option, which is what they did with Infinity War. It's the bad versions of the heroes.
Mm, could be.
With all the multiverse stories and this and that,
So they'll all have mustaches because they're like mirror universe versions.
we might make it similar to the comics. It starts a secret invasion Skrulls, but then we learn he's not a Skrull. He's an alternate black.
Doppelgangers. The doppelgangers were weird though because they were like originally tentacles.
They were very zombie esque charge attack. Blah.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, see, because we can't really find any other major villains now other than Kang and Immortus.
Because we've covered a lot of ground in the MCU thus far because they did hit a lot of the big heroes and then went through like their main villains.
And a lot of the remaining villains are, you need the X-Men. You can't have Mr. Sinister. You can't have Shadow King. You can't have the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. All these need the mutants to be present.
Oh my god, Egghead. He's an Ant-Man villain, but that's so weird. He's not. He's not the type to take over the world.
Mhm.
Oh, it's so sad. Yeah, there's like really we don't got a lot going on.
Even Exodus needs the mutants.
Tom's like, is there some sort of Eternals villain that becomes too much for them that can eventually pull the rest of the people? They're called Celestials. No, because, but yeah, the more often than not, the Eternals, were just facing off against themselves and then the Deviants.
Yeah, online,
and then
there's a lot of
Celestials.
talk that the real Eternals villain is one of the heroes, which I would not be surprised
But-
because the Eternals are outsiders. They're not part of our world, so
Yeah,
that
yeah.
would make sense.
Joe said, maybe that's it. Just end and then wait for the X-Men to get here.
So what if Wanda is the villain of Phase 4?
Ooh.
So
That's
it's not House
sad.
of M,
But it's still,
but it's Wanda.
and then they're gonna kill her in the end. And then Wanda fulfills her job of dying for the MCU.
Because the comics did it, so they'll have to align. Because that does happen, right? They do
Yeah.
try to make sure that there's similarities. So when people move from movie to comic,
it's
generally
related.
the same thing.
I feel sad though because we keep killing Wanda. Wanda, why?
If Wanda becomes the villain, though, who do you see her being? Will she like be the embodiment of death, the cosmic death in terms of the Marvel universe? Will she be?
She'll just be off the shoulder, you know, Brotherhood of Mutants Wanda.
evil silhouette Wanda.
Yes. Waiting for her daddy to come.
Now, if Wanda is the villain, then we can have the "I have my twins growing out of my arm" moment.
We're never gonna get twins out of your arm. I want it, but we're never gonna get it. It's just so weird.
We're gonna have her tempting all the heroes of the ones they've lost of ganyan ganyan.
I mean, okay, to be fair, exploring and by Joby. But yeah, I think Wanda still has a lot of potential only because she has the Darkhold,
Mhm.
and the Darkhold, its only job, it.
I hope we're back.
We gotta wrap this up.
There. I will state that Wanda as the villain could be the Marvel Cinematic Universe's attempt to do the Inferno story.
But instead of
Instead of-
Madeline Pryor,
Yeah.
it's
And it's parang she has the demons, she has ganyan-ganyan, and she's like tempting them with what they want.
it's possible. It's I wouldn't put it past them. It's just weird. But it always feels like it's such a waste. Then you really want Magic to like cut her way through and join the MCU.
It's true.
Oh, Magic.
Now, there's supposedly some posts on who the real villain is, at least for Eternals. We haven't looked at it. But for those who are interested in spoiling it for themselves, you can look online because I believe the toys have spoiled it.
Toys are always dangerous, and the most dangerous toys I always find are Lego.
Mhm.
Because Lego doesn't just release characters; it releases scenes.
Yes, they release scenes from movies.
Then it's always like the blah 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 chase through the city, And then it's like, oh man, that's so specific. So Lego sets are dangerous. If you want to be totally spoiler free, do not look at Lego
Mhm.
Marvel related Lego catalogs as they come out.
So, if Wanda is Phase 4,
Mm-hmm.
then I feel Kang is Phase 5.
Yeah, I feel like even if they really are bringing in Kang at the point of what's this? At the point of Ant-Man
Mhm.
and the Wasp, it's I think it's only going to be a tease at best or an introduction, but not enough for him to be the main villain.
So, could it be that Fantastic Four's origin story is a past story, but they've been lost in the quantum realm?
That's one possibility. Whether it's quantum or any alternate, I mean, it's a totally legit Fantastic Four story.
I'm
And
thinking lang quantum realm because we've established that was not affected by the blip. It was a locked area.
it crosses through time.
Yeah.
So time travel in the MCU like links to the quantum realm.
So I guess to wrap up, okay, wait. Tom mentions, I don't know, just after freeing her from being a villain, she's back to being the villain again. Yeah, but the thing is, again, comics, okay, when movies come out, the comics does make adjustments to try to match the movies
Yes.
because they want the fan base to connect. But with the movies delayed, the comics have not been delayed.
Yes, they've still been coming out.
So with the recent story arc of Wanda dying, I can't help but feel it's some mirror that is there.
a mirror of a reality that doesn't exist yet.
Because I will remind you all, they killed off the X-Men. They killed off all the mutants in the Marvel universe as part of the Secret War story arc. But that was because the movies, they lost the franchise.
Yeah, and even things like House of M
Was
whatever,
also during...
was all this violence against mutants because they didn't have the movie franchise and
Yeah.
it was frustrating them and X-Men versus Inhumans was trying to
Mhm.
remind you that the Inhumans are on the same level.
And that's why there was that retconning of Wanda from mutant and being daughter of Magneto to no, actually you're inhuman and ganyan. And then later
Cosmic Cube touch,
Yeah, and-
but always had powers from the very beginning.
so there's that possibility. So to I guess to wrap it up, how then do you see the Fantastic Four, if ever, or what do you hope to be the way they'll approach it?
I mean, it's super super early, but I feel like given
How will they how will they modernize it, or how will they make it a Marvel Cinematic Universe approach? Because it was the rocket space race, diba, in the original stories,
sort of,
and then
yeah.
and then he wants to beat the Russians, so he pulls his family to go up the rocket.
Ultimately, I think that I want to go with this that they're from another universe approach.
They're not from our world.
They're not from our reality. Well, they're
Mm.
not from the main MCU reality, but from another one, and then they cross over.
But they have the same origin story. It was during the Cold War.
It could be. I mean, like, you don't. Was this the origin story? Doesn't have to be that specific that
Yeah.
it was the Cold War, but it's still the
Rocket.
rocket accident, cosmic
rays.
ray
Yeah.
change.
Because in the movie we will never really fully name.
Hey, it had Chris Evans. In a very
no,
confusing.
the other movie.
Oh, that one.
Hence, we will never name. They tried to modernize it. Wherein it was, let's explore a different dimension, and it was still the cosmic rays, I think. But it was let's try to explore a different dimension
The really terrible Doctor Doom.
rather than
Really, really
we sneak into the army base and go into the rocket.
I thought the original Doctor Doom was bad, but then that was somehow equally bad.
I would like them to retain their comic story, meaning it was a Cold War thing.
Okay.
But I would like that they vanished and they did not come down.
And then now suddenly, well,
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, we need them to disappear for a long period of time because why did they not get involved in so many things?
And for me, that's parang the entire absence was actually them finding their way home. And they finally get back and they see this happening. And they're the ones who shut down Wanda.
But then it's magic.
Because magic is just science that we do not understand.
Ugh.
That's what we established with Thor, right?
But at the same time, oh my god, it's like, Mr. Fantastic historically has not been great at magic, which
Yeah.
is why Doom is superior.
Yeah.
Because Doom is the master of magic and science. Or at least that's what he claims. Okay.
What if it's Doom then?
As the big villain.
But he won't be defeated yet. It's Wanda, but when Wanda's defeated, we learn Wanda's been talking to Doom.
Well, at the very least, we have Kang already. And to have Kang and Doom makes as much sense to me as peanut butter and jelly. I mean, like,
Mhm.
they share the same color scheme. they echo one another.
Well, look at it this way. Wanda's Red Skull.
What?
Doom is Loki. And then Kang is Thanos.
I don't understand these analogies. There's a what? They're how
So-
they appear.
Yeah, so Wanda's seen as the main villain, Red Skull. But then the bigger villain actually is Loki manipulating things. So that's Doom. But then the main major event is Kang finally surfacing.
I don't know.
Or it's all just the Beyonder. Or Impossible Man.
Oh my god. Wrong. Very wrong universe. He's the one in the stupid tights, right? But he was
Impossible
a Fantastic
Man
Four.
is the green.
Yeah, the green guy with the pointy
pop
head.
sound. Pop. Diba? Whenever he uses his powers. Pop.
That's so terrible. So terrible. He's so Silver Age.
And he's
in his
so
appearance.
mesoplytic.
Yeah, yeah.
Mesoplytic.
He always
Mesoplytic.
struck me as like a DC character. But he feels like a DC villain. Like, what are you doing here? That's always like that. Okay.
I guess that's it.
it's really long.
We've gone through practically almost 2 hours of talking about the cinematic universe, our thoughts, our theories, our hopes and dreams, our fears.
Thoughts and prayers. Like and share. Something else before
No,
we
I just
go?
suddenly thought, since we're looking at the possibilities of Fantastic Four, but still no mutants inside, do you think they'll co-opt some of the mutant concepts?
I feel like that's where the Inhumans still is a valuable backdoor. And then the fact that we're getting Miss Marvel, I mean, like, I don't know how they're going to explain her powers if it's
Mhm.
not Inhumans. So it leaves that door open. Like,
Mhm.
even though the TV show didn't quite work out, but then they can still do an Inhumans
You
play.
don't think they're gonna make her a Skrull, do you?
I hope not. That would be very cheap.
But that kind of fits the power profile.
And then she ties pa into the movie.
She just doesn't know how to. She's like, what's his name?
Hulkling.
Yeah, she doesn't know her powers enough. She only knows to embiggen and stuff. But in truth, she's a Skrull.
That could be sad.
And then that connects to Secret Invasion.
That would be sad because I feel that falls into the category of cheapening the character.
Yeah.
or doing
you
a
could-
disservice. of
But
the
I could
character.
see the flow though
It
if it
could.
was a narrative.
It could work that way, but that could be very sad. It sends the wrong message in my head.
And then the kids appear, and Wanda's like, "You're back." And then there's Skrulls, and then rah! No more aliens. Anyway,
Toby was not meant to rewrite one the dialogue. Okay.
I think that's where this episode ends. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We had a lot of fun, and we hope you'll join us again next time.
For questions or suggestions for future episodes, fill up the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. If you just want to talk about specific, like, I mean, obviously we're very big comic book fans. So if you want to just talk about specific stuff, hey, there's another area we can explore together. You can follow us on Twitter, Altobi No Shade, RG Sunico.
You can also check out our blog, baduypride.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
So feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below and just speculate as much as you want about Phase 4. What do you want to see? What do you not want to see? And can you answer our villain question? Like, who's left? Guys, are there still villains left in the MCU without the X-Men?
Tomorrow, we are having our episode that's all about Friends. So do join us if you can.
Yeah, we're going to try to figure out which Friends character Toby really is.
And why do so many plot points and moments in the show connect to my life, even if I only saw it recently.
So funny. And yeah, be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is
Baduy Pride.
Please like the video. Thank you.